So in this live stream, we're going to talk about how to finally stop drinking for real. No BS, no gimmicks. So if this is what you want for yourself in 2025, buckle up, because this is going to be a lot of good information, a lot of good content that we're going to talk about. All right. Okay. So why should we quit on 2025? What's so special about it? Well, right now there is a strong trend towards not drinking, towards quitting alcohol. There is celebrity after celebrity that has decided to stop drinking. So there is a strong societal move, societal change towards living a better life, which that means a sober life. There is a lot more awareness, and there's stigma associated with alcohol or other type of addictive behaviors. It's lessening. So the society's become a lot more accepting of the fact that we as humans tend to go off the rails at times and get into trouble with doing things that are not good for us. And regrettably, some of us tend to get into these spirals of addiction and abusing, substances or activities. And, in the past, it's been really hard as a society to talk about it. So there's a lot more openness about the fact that, yes, we are all humans, we all struggle, and we get in trouble and need some help sometimes. All right. Also, well, why not? Right? Probably if you struggle with alcohol or drugs or other addictive behaviors, you consider this more than once. So the question is, why not? Because now is the only moment you have control over your life. What you've done in the past, it doesn't matter, is water under the bridge. And what's going to happen in the future, well, you don't control that either. You only have control over the here and now. So if you are considering quitting alcohol for good for whatever reason, now is a good moment because you have the time. And if you're watching this live stream, or if you watch it later in 2028 or 2035, it doesn't matter. The principles that we're going to be discussing today are applicable, because there is no better time than now, and you don't have more power than now. Okay. So before I stopped drinking, I was stuck in a vicious cycle, right? Of recovering and just saying, I'm not going to drink anymore, and then going back and drink. And it was like on, off, on, off. It was just this never ending cycle. I was hiding the fact that I was drinking from the people around me, because, I feel embarrassed, ashamed. I didn't want to bother them with my problems. And I was drinking to escape, the reality of my day-to-day life, or to check out for a little bit, if I was feeling stressed out or anxious. So these are some of the reasons why people drink, or at least this was the reason why I was drinking. As a consequence, things were not going all right. My wife was very frustrated, finding me drunk on the couch. I was feeling very anxious on top of my day-to-day anxiety. Just the fact that I was drinking so much was creating anxiety of its own. And I was feeling very down on myself, because, I was not doing the things that I wanted to do, or the things that I was supposed to do. So that can be very, very demoralizing. And, at the end of the day, I was stuck, and I did not know how to change, how to do things differently. And if you have been in a similar situation, let me know if this is something that uh, you can relate to, because I found that a lot of people have a similar story uh, than mine. All right. So who am I? I am Alex Rivera, your host of our channel here, Activation Energy. I am a father of two young boys. Well, not so young anymore. One is growing real fast, and the other one too, I guess. I've been married for more than 15 years, actually. I worked as an engineer for a very very long time. I had a career in mechanical engineering, and I became an engineering manager. So I was managing a team of people. As far as my professional life, right now I don't do that anymore. I'm working on buying and fixing and rehabbing properties that need work. I fix them up and then I rent them out. So that's what I'm doing. I did a little bit of a pivot with my professional career. And I also do facilitating at my local Smart Recovery group. And if you don't know what Smart Recovery is sober group, if you want to call it. It's an alternative to a better known 12-step programs like AA. So if you want to learn more about Smart Recovery, check smartrecovery.org. I know it's helped me a lot, so it might help you as well. So the key to stopping, or one of the keys, I shouldn't say, but it starts with understanding why you're drinking in the first place, right? And when you are in the thrall of it, and when you are in this cycle, you don't really sometimes stop to think about it. You might have a notion of what's going on. You might feel very stressed out. You might feel like, you use it to calm yourself down, but you might not know why are you drinking. So identifying the triggers, the situations, the specific moments where you are picking up the drink, it's very important. So one important tool that I discovered, or I didn't discover, it's being used by a lot of people, but I started using, was journaling and keeping track of the moments where I felt compelled to drink. Because that way you can discover the moments, the time of the day, the circumstances, the situations where you feel like drinking. And you might be aware of some of them, but some of them you might not be aware of. So, understanding exactly under what circumstances and under what situation you drink is very, very important. And if you keep a log, if you keep track of when this happens, then it will reveal to you what's going on. Um, So I wrote this down a little while ago, and this hit me when I sort of came to terms with this, because for most people, you might say, "Well, I have a drinking problem," all right, but that never really sort of rubbed me the right way, because I knew I had a lot of problems, and drinking actually seemed to help to ease some of them. So admitting that I had a drinking problem seemed a little difficult for me. It didn't strike true. So basically what's going on is that we not don't necessarily have a drinking problem, but we have problems for which we use alcohol to cope with. So alcohol becomes more of a tool to avoid or to suppress or to mask some very strong feelings. It could be that you're feeling very stressed out at the end of the day, or you're feeling very anxious, or you're feeling very angry, and you have trained yourself to use alcohol as a means to cope. So that's why I'm saying that alcohol is not the problem, but the solution. But I'm not saying it's a good solution. It's actually a really bad solution to whatever problem you're going through. Because if it was just something you would take and then it will just take your worries away, and then there's no consequences, that would be one thing. But drinking in excess, or drinking too much in the long term, has really very negative and long lasting consequences. So using alcohol to deal with your strong emotions or whatever other problem you're going through might feel in the very short term as a solution, but it's not really a good solution in the long term, because it's just going to create more and more problems of its own. Right? Does that make sense? Tell me what you think. Leave a comment. So, a key insight into finding out how to finally stop drinking for me was to understand this connection between your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. Okay, so what does that mean? You know, and scientists say that we have 50 to 60,000 thoughts every year. I'm sorry, every day. So I don't know how they count that, but that's a lot of thoughts. And some of these thoughts are just very random thoughts, silly thoughts, strange thoughts, weird thoughts. Some of them can be very scary thoughts. But just because you're having a thought doesn't make it real. So just because you feel scared about something or angry about something, it doesn't mean that that is uh, the case, that is true, right? A lot of thoughts and are based on our beliefs and our interpretations about the world. And some of these thoughts can be quite distorted. I'm just putting some examples here. So the thought of feeling worthless, or I'm very stupid, or I can't do anything right, or everybody's out to get me. So these are thoughts that sometimes we might have, and they elicit an emotional response within us. And the idea here is that many times these thoughts are just invalid, and you need to be able to challenge them. So in the case of like, I'm useless, you have to just stop for a minute and think, really, do I actually have I never done anything right in my life, anything whatsoever? And if you think about it for a minute, you'll find out that there's a lot of useful and valuable things that you've done in your life. So this is a very sort of black and white, binary type of thinking, or thoughts, and these thoughts can cause us to feel very, very strong emotions. Okay, so that's the first link, is between your thoughts and how your thoughts make you feel. So our thoughts are our feelings come from the interpretation of facts, right? So something happens out there in the world, um, and it is what we make of those facts that affect how we feel about them. So there aren't good facts and bad facts. Something tragic happens, an accident, or you lose something. That is not good or bad. I mean, it's just how you see it. It's just how interpreted. It becomes bad the moment you decide to judge it and qualify it. And you might say, "Oh well, that yeah, that is just like you know positivity, woo woo type stuff." But it really isn't, because everything depends on the framework that you see it. Something that is bad, that you think it's bad, might be regarded as good for some, to somebody else. And you know your worst day might be the best day for somebody else. There is a saying that goes, the cemetery is full of people who would like to have your life. So think about that for a moment. No matter what's going on with you right now, how many troubles you have to deal with, how many challenges are in front of you, the fact that you're still alive and kicking and working and you know, doing things, or having the ability to do things, is much better than not being able to do things. So it is really a matter of perspective, and it is really a matter of how you see things, because you are able to reframe almost any situation, so it does not make you feel terrible. Does that make sense? All right, let me know what you think, if you have a comment. So in continuing with this idea of the link, um, we pride ourselves from being rational creatures, right? We can think, we can make decisions, but the truth of the matter is that most of our decisions are driven by our emotions, and marketeers and politicians know this very well. So, as much as we would like to think that all our decisions are rational, our decisions are mostly guided by how we feel. And sometimes when we have very, very strong emotions, we feel like the only way to cope with them might be with reaching out for a drink. And as as we discussed earlier, this is a way of dealing with it, but this is what's called maladaptive. You are coping, you're dealing with your strong emotion at that moment, but it's maladaptive in the sense that in the long run, this is not going to help you and this is going to cost you more trouble. So there are other things that you could do, right? So on the other side, there are adaptive type behaviors that you can adopt, things that you can do to cope with these strong emotions that are not destructive, that are helpful, that serve you well and help you to achieve other goals. So, it's an example, doing some exercise or finding a way to distract yourself differently, um, finding a way to deal with the strong emotion without the drinking. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So, in this slide, I'm showing you again, there's this link, right, between the thoughts, the feelings, and the behaviors. So the way the way the chain goes is there's something happens out there in the world. There is an event. You talk to somebody, you hear something in the news, something happens while you are out and about. That's called an activating event. So in my example here, I have a work situation. So you might have a deadline. So you have a lot of work and you have a deadline. That's the activating event. That is the fact. You have to finish something by Friday. And your thought is like, oh, well, there's so much work. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish all of this work. And if I don't, my boss is going to be so pissed. He already told me that if I don't do my work, that I might get laid off. And the thought is that if you don't do your work, you might be laid off, and next thing you know, you're feeling very anxious and you're feeling very scared, and you're having all of this stress response, all this adrenaline rushing through your body, because you fear that the consequence of not being able to do the work is that you're going to be fired. But beyond that, you feel like if I get fired, I am not going to have any money. I'm going to not be able to feed my family. I might lose my house, and I might end up a poor person, homeless person in the gutter. And sometimes our thoughts run away from us, and we tend to go into this catastrophic type thinking. I know I do that. I know I do that. So it's not necessarily that the activating event is creating this anxiety, but it's how we are interpreting the event, right? So you have this deadline, and then all of a sudden you're thinking that you're just going to lose your home. You see how that mental process goes, and then once you are all anxious, what you do about it? So that there's a behavior as a consequence of that feeling. In this case, you might feel overwhelmed. You might feel like you need to have a drink. Okay, so there's a chain here. There are connections between what happens, what you think happened, how you feel about it, and then what you do about it. And the key here to understand is that we need to learn to disrupt this chain of events, because many times we're trying to stop at the behavior level, right? We're trying to say, okay, I'm not going to behave this way. But then what do I do with all of these pent up emotions or feelings? Do I ignore them? No, you shouldn't. So you can keep going backwards on this chain of events and say, okay, how can I prevent myself from feeling so anxious? Well, then you got to look at what's the thought behind the anxious thought. Am I really going to get fired? And even if I do get fired, I'm going to, I can't get another job, or am I really, are the consequences going to be so catastrophic as I fear? If you look at it, probably not. Chances are that, first of all, you won't get fired. And second of all, even if you do, that you could get another job. So you can try to go there. Or you can even go even further and say, something happens, well, you're going to catch your thought. You're going to be like, yeah, I have a deadline, but guess what? I'm just not going to let this drive me crazy or stressed out, because I know I've been in situations like this before. I have handled myself properly, and there were no ill consequences. So that's the key here, is to understand this relationship between the events, the thoughts, the feelings, and the behaviors, so you are able to intervene at the right moment. Okay, what do you think about that? Let me know your thoughts. Does this making Let me know if this is making sense to you. Leave a comment in the chat. All right, let's continue. So there's one more, which is this whole idea of managing the social environment where you operate, right? So dealing with peer pressure. Um, Many times there is an expectation that you would drink because perhaps the type of work that you do, or the social environment that you belong to. And even if you want to stop drinking, you don't want to deal with people asking you, why don't you drink, or people thinking that there is a problem. And, you know, that could be a hindrance for you to stop drinking, because you might be feeling like, if I don't drink in this particular social environment or event, then maybe I won't be able to participate, or maybe people will think, something's off. So it's very important to be able to manage that and overcome that. And it is simple. It's the hardest part is in our mindset, but it is simple. You can say things like, well, no, thank you. I am good with this. You might be drinking a non-alcoholic beverage. You can say, or, I decided to take a break for my health. You can give all kinds of responses to these that are polite, and you don't have to go into a lot of detail. The idea here is that if this is hard for you, just practice it ahead of time. Have a few responses that you can give to people, so when the time comes, then you don't feel embarrassed, or it just comes natural. And the other thing here is, it's just becoming more and more accepted. As I said, the sober movement is picking up steam, and it's becoming okay to say, no, I'm just choosing not to drink at this point, and leave it at that. And actually, that might look like, that's something good for yourself, and people will be like, okay, great. He's trying to clean up. Um, and it really goes without saying, but do not hang out with people who the only basis for their relationship that you have with them is drinking. Your drinking buddies, because you have decided to not drink. And if you're going to hang out with your drinking buddies who still drink, it's going to be very, very hard for you to not drink. They say that we are the average of the 5 people that we hang out with. So if all your friends drink, you're going to feel like drinking. So might mean taking a pause from the social group, or evaluating the type of friendships that you have, whether these are meaningful, helpful, supportive relationships, or they are relationships just based on alcohol. So it might be a good time to look into that. Okay. So how to handle, so if you're not going to drink, right? So what are you going to do instead? How are you going to handle these? Well, there's a slew of things that you can try, and these are just some ideas, some generic ideas, some general ideas that might help you. But it's really anything that can distract you, that can help you move away from the drinking thinking, the stinking thinking. So there's a 30-minute rule. Some people say it's 5, 10. I like to say 30-minute rule. What that means is that just wait 30 minutes and distract yourself when you're having a craving and an urge. Just do something else. Figure out what you're going to do. Have a list of things at the ready. Know exactly what alternatives you have instead of drinking. Because what happens is that if you don't pay attention to the urge, if you don't fall for it, then it's like a wave. It's going to crest, it's going to peak, and then it's going to wane, and it's going to go away. And your mind is going to be like, oh, okay, so you're not paying attention to this, so I'm just going to do something else. So if you don't pay attention, if you don't fall for the craving, Even though it might feel very intense, it might feel like, oh my God, I'm just going to explode if I don't drink. It's not going to be like that. And if you're able to not drink for 30 minutes or so, then the craving will go away. So some mindfulness techniques, basically some people recommend a meditation, but if meditation, let's say meditation is hard for you, just mindfulness, just basically getting out of your train of thought. You can go out for a walk and look at your yard, look at the nature, focus on something else. Try to be in the here and now, and do not pay attention to your anxious thoughts about the future or you're feeling sad about the past. Try to put that on pause for a little bit and focus on the here and now. And breathing helps. Breathing helps to create the relaxation response in your body, which is the opposite of the stress response. So breathing, slowing your breathing and taking deep breaths, it's a sure way to change your thought pattern. Change your environment. If you are surrounded by the things that remind you about drinking, just get out of that environment or modify your environment. I found that listening to music, especially music that is uplifting or music that I like a lot, has the power of changing your mood very quickly, almost as quickly as alcohol will do, but without all the consequences. So have a playlist of music that you can listen to. Do some exercise and laugh. Laughing, it's an incredible thing because think about it. You can be angry, you can be sad if you're laughing. Laughing is this thing that releases all of these feel good hormones and changes your state of mind. So if there is a show that you find funny or a movie, a comedy that you really like, watch it again over and over again, and find a moment to laugh, or call a friend that he's very funny, and you always laugh when you talk to this person, and do that. All right. The more you are able to successfully fend off these cravings, even though they might come very often when you first decide to stop drinking, the more you fight them off, the less strong and less frequent they become. Okay. So this is very key, because when you first decide to stop drinking, you feel like, oh, this is never going to stop. I'm just going to feel like this forever. But that is not the case. Your mind stops working on these cravings if you continuously ignore them. So alternative activities. Again, the key thing is that you have to find out something that you enjoy doing, because you have to replace the drinking with something else. It's not just a matter of white knuckling it and just say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. You have to do something else. You have to replace it. You have to train your mind that instead of drinking, I'm going to do this something else. So exercise, walking, strength training, join a fitness club. I started to do some strength training, starting to do some weights. And it's really good because you're killing multiple birds with one stone. When you work out your muscles, for men, it builds confidence, it releases feel good hormones, it gives you testosterone. So there are all kinds of benefits from doing strength training, and even cardio, right? Going out for a brisk walk or a jog really, really helps. Engage in your hobbies. If you have some, and you probably have forgotten or not work on them, just rediscover your hobbies, or find new hobbies that are creative, that allow you to use your mind and do things that are more fun and positive instead of drinking. And if you have to be out and about and you're going to hang out with friends because you need to do this, you be a very social person. There's a huge industry now that deals with non-alcoholic drinks. So you might want to try that if that is something that is of interest to you. You can have non-alcoholic beers and wine and even vodka, all kinds of different things. Um, and you can be a leader within your social group, and you can suggest alternatives to going out at the bar. Maybe you guys want to go out and watch a game, or do something else that doesn't necessarily requires drinking. um, but if you're going to be with friends and and you know there's going to be alcohol involved. Maybe you bring your own non-alcoholic drink. Find something that you like, that you can, have in your hand, so you don't feel left out, and that might help you and might stop the temptation from drinking what everybody else is drinking. What I found that key to my recovery is to be able to rely on other people, because for the longest time I was trying to do this by myself, and I felt like I should be able to do this. I'm strong, I'm an intelligent person, so I should be able to do this. And this idea that I should be able to do this on my own really hurt me, because it prevented me from finding people who had gone through similar situation, who were facing a similar dilemma, um, and finding real solutions. We are social creatures. We're not here by ourselves. And even though the Western society rewards individualism, it could be good for certain things, but it's definitely not good when it comes time to ask for help. And we all need help at times. It's just normal to ask for help. I like to say that if something happens to you, if you break a bone or a rib or something, are you not going to go to the doctor? Would you find it shameful to go to the doctor to get help? No, you wouldn't. You would go, and you would accept the help. But there's been so much stigma associated with mental health, alcohol, depression, anxiety, that it's hard for people to say, you know what, I need help and I'm going to go and get it. But thankfully, that is changing, as it should, because there's absolutely no shame in asking for help. We all need it at times. And guess what? We all struggle. Everybody, even the most put together person in the world, struggles. So there's no shame in asking for help. So join groups, recruit your friends, recruit your family, find like-minded individuals, support groups like AA or Smart Recovery, or mentorship programs like our Now Sober mentorship program, which I'll talk a little bit later. Find a sober buddy or a mentor that might be ahead of you in the sobriety process, so he can help you along the way and say, listen, this is how I did these things and how I went about it. If you think about it from like if you're running a business, or if you're starting your own company, you benefit greatly from those who have been there and done that, who have been able to overcome some of the problems that you are now facing. So it only makes sense that you find the type of people that can help you to overcome the type of problems that you have, right? What do you think so far? Again, if there is something that it's ringing true here, if you're having a little bit of an aha moment, please leave a comment in the chat, and we can discuss it further. Now, another element of long-term sobriety is having clear and personal goals and a strong why. I mean, there's going to be a reason why you're deciding that you don't want to drink anymore, other than your spouse or your boss or courts telling you that you should not drink. I mean, this is a very personal decision, and it's gotta come from within you. You have to have a strong reason, a compelling reason to want to stop drinking. And this got to be very clear to you, because if you don't have a strong reason, guess what? You're just not going to stick to it, because it is hard. Everything that we've talked about so far, asking for help, learning how to deal with cravings, all of these things are hard. It's work. So if you don't have a strong, compelling reason on why you're doing this, you might just fall back on the default, which is, when you have strong emotions, you will go back to using alcohol to cope with them. So a clear why, but also having clear goals. So why do you need clear goals? Why do you need goals? Because you can evaluate your next action against your goals, your long-term goals. Hey, if I do this, will this help me to achieve what I want to do? So for example, if you want to run a marathon, or get into a race or something like that, or lose some weight, and next time you feel like drinking and say, hoops, Every time I drink, I I end up overdoing it, and then I'm out of commission for the next day or two, and this will interfere with my goal of getting fit. Because if I am hungover and drunk, then I can't go to the gym, or I don't feel like it, or it's very hard to do. Um, so having clear goals and reviewing them constantly is very useful. Believe it or not, a lot of us have very, very fussy and ambiguous goals. I used to have them. You can say things like, "Oh, well, sure, I want to have more money, or I want to have a bigger house, or I want to be able to travel more." But that those are not goals, right? Those are just nebulous ideas of what you want to do in the future. A goal is saying, "I want to make, $150,000 a year, or I want to make this much every week or every day." I mean, those are goals, because then you can convert these goals into specific tasks, specific activities that you can work on every day. You can schedule tasks so you can actually move in the direction of these goals. If you want to visit somewhere in the world, you have to decide exactly where you're going, how long are you going to be there, which places you're going to visit, so you can build a budget and say, okay, it's going to cost me this much. I'm going to stay in this place, or maybe I have to make arrangements ahead of time. So goals are specific, right? I think the acronym here is SMART. Specific, measurable, and achievable, relevant, time bound. Because otherwise, these are not goals; these are just dreams, right? Does that make sense? Does that strike a chord? Think about 5 things that you want to accomplish in the next 5 years. Make a list of these things, and then convert these goals, into a schedule, into a list of activities that you can work on a little bit every day. Okay, so I hope this has been very helpful. But let's put it all together. Okay, so why do you want to quit in 2025? Because quitting can change your life forever. You've been thinking about it. You have to, because all the turmoil and chaos that alcohol means for you in your life, and because you might not be working in all of these goals and aspirations that you have. So quitting alcohol will help you to reclaim your life and start moving in the direction of these goals and aspirations, right? This year can truly be different. It doesn't have to be like the other years where you tried to quit and you didn't do it, because this year you will commit. You will commit, you will identify the strong why, and you will commit to stop drinking alcohol, because you deserve a better life, because you want more of life, and because you love the people you're sharing your life with, and you know that you cannot be the best version of yourself uh, when you are drinking. It's very important that even if you tried and failed, that you believe that you can do it, because you can, right? A lot of people have been successful, and I, I've tried for very, very many years, for decades. I started drinking when I was very young, and it's very hard, and I got into a lot of problems, and my life was definitely not going in the right direction, but it can be done. So why not begin the process of reclaiming your life now? All right, I did it, so can you. Let me know what you think. I mean, give me. Has this made sense for you? Is this something that you think you can do? Tell me in the comments. Uh, Not long ago, I started this mentorship program. Based on everything that I've learned on how to quit drinking. I am a person who loves to learn, and I'm curious by nature. So I started this mentorship program so I could help people like you who want to stop drinking, but not only stop drinking, but live a better life, reclaim what you've lost, and start living the best version of yourself, because there is so much potential in all of us. There is a whole universe of possibilities within you. And if you're able to unleash this energy, this power, there is just no telling what can happen. So if you're interested in this program, it's one-on-one coaching. I will leave a link in the description. Actually, I might have a little thing here that I can put on screen for you. And just, we can talk about it. And you give me a call and we will figure out what the best uh, solution for you is. As usually, we meet on a weekly basis, and I will tailor make a program that is based on your needs. Okay. Okay. So I appreciate everything. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the time that you spend with me because this is a very big decision. You know, deciding to change your life is not easy, but you want to do it. And you know that 2025 could be the year for you. So my hope is that you will be able to make the right choices, the right decisions. And if you need any help whatsoever, I am here to help you. I hope this live stream, this presentation has been useful to you. And I will have the replay released on YouTube shortly so you can watch it again. And if you're watching this in the future, if you're watching this in 2026, 28, 2030, everything that we talked about here is applicable because we all need help sometimes. And it is okay to struggle. All right. This is Alex Rivera with Activation Energy. And thank you very much for joining me today. I hope this has been a good session for you. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.